If you are purchasing a home in North Carolina for the first time or for the first time in a long time, you may be unaware of the due diligence fee and what that means in a North Carolina purchase contract. And I want to talk about that today because the due diligence fee and the due diligence period is a massive part of the North Carolina contract, and there's no other state in the country that does it quite like North Carolina. My name is Ann Rudd with LPT Realty, and today I want to talk to you specifically about that due diligence period, the due diligence fee, and what is it, and how do you navigate through it in this state. I've been licensed in multiple states in my career, and I find this to be the hardest concept for buyers to get their head wrapped around. We know what the term due diligence means in a real estate transaction, but it means something a little bit different in North Carolina. The due diligence fee goes along with the due diligence period, which is exclusive right the buyer pays for to inspect and evaluate a property during the due diligence period and get as far through your lending process as possible prior to closing. The due diligence fee is unique in this state. It is negotiable and it is paid directly to the seller at contract acceptance for that due diligence period. Now, that's a tough concept for people to understand. That fee is always non-refundable, except in a couple little cases. I have negotiated some out, but assume that the due diligence fee you pay directly to the seller is not coming back to you. Now, that money is credited to you at closing on the closing statement, along with any other earnest money that you put into this transaction. So you don't lose that money if you consummate the transaction. However, what the due diligence fee allows you to do is negotiate a time for the due diligence period for you to do property inspections, anything you want to do, and allows you to walk out of that contract, no questions asked during the due diligence period. I tell buyers it is there to allow you to walk in case you find something truly frightening about a house or something that you cannot accept and you're unable to negotiate out. For example, if you have a purchase contract on a home and you find that that house has $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 in structural damage that has to be repaired, if you cannot negotiate that out with the seller, that might be a very good reason for a buyer to walk out of a purchase transaction. And yes, they do lose their due diligence fee. They lose any monies they've put into that transaction as far as appraisal or inspections. But losing a few $1,000s versus purchasing a house with $100,000 in repair costs, I think one of these is better than the other. And it does allow you that time and that ability to do the inspections, figure out if this is a home you want to live in or want to walk away. No questions asked. You don't have to give a reason. It just has to be delivered in writing prior to the end of the due diligence period. Now, if you walk away after the end of due diligence, then you're in a breach of contract situation, and that's a whole nother mess you don't want to do. But so the best rule of thumb when negotiating that due diligence fee is if you are a buyer purchasing, you want that due diligence fee to be as little as possible. Sellers want that fee to be as much as they can possibly get. So that's something that you're going to have to work out and negotiate between the seller and you, the buyer. But you want to make it so that it's not going to, it might sting, but it doesn't need to be debilitating if you lose that money because you find something you can't accept in a home. And that's what it's there for. I hope this helps a little bit. I know that it's a really confusing piece of our contract that so many people have a hard time understanding. Agents that understand the due diligence period and understand how important it is to stay within that due diligence period with your inspections and ensure that a client, a buyer, is good with that house prior to the end of due diligence is my job. I have a conversation with my clients prior to the due diligence period, making sure that they're good with that house before DD is over. So I hope this helps you today. Again, I know this is not the easiest concept to understand. The North Carolina contract is complicated. And this is one of the things that causes some headaches for buyers in our market. And the better you understand this process and this little piece of the contract, well, actually this big piece of the contract, the easier your transaction is going to be. So if you have any questions about this, you can always reach out. Send me a DM. Send me a DM that just says contract. I'll reach out to you and we can talk about any questions you have about the due diligence period or anything with the North Carolina contract. It's good to know before you buy. Take care and I'll talk to you soon.